Now, if you guys watched the new show, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer Story, you probably know the serial killer John Wayne Gacy as he was shown in the last episode of the series. Today I'm going to be looking into how the media affected the public's perception on this specific case. The media affected the public's perception of John Wayne Gacy by exposing his false image and showed his true intentions as a serial killer through the use of pathos by describing the horrific event to the public, and also through the use of ethos due to the several professionals involved in the case, creating trustworthiness of the information. For some background information, John Wayne Gacy was born March 17, 1942, and died on May 10, 1994 by lethal injection. John had an abusive childhood. His father, John Stanley Gacy, was an alcoholic that beat both John and his mother. As an adult, he became a serial killer and sex offender who tortured and murdered at least 33 young men and boys. He was loved by everyone in his community and often dressed up as his made-up character Pogo the Clown and performed at birthday parties and children's hospitals. A 15-year-old Robert Pice was reported missing the day he met up with Gacy to discuss job opportunities, as Gacy was a successful independent contractor business owner. Gacy was known for hiring young teenage boys for his business, so the police requested to talk to him. After obtaining the first search warrant, the police found a receipt that belonged to Robert's drugstore cologne, and also found one of his coats. The second search warrant led to the discovery of human remains behind a door that led to a crawlspace. A high school ring belonging to John Sinks was also found within his home, who was also reported missing previously. It was reported that Gacy dumped Robert's body in the Des Plaines River after being called in for questioning. The police discovered the bodies of 29 boys and young men in or near Gacy's house, and 4 other bodies were found in the nearby Des Plaines River. Before the deaths of the 33 young men, Gacy was sentenced to 10 years in jail for his sodomy conviction in 1968. He was released after 18 months of good behavior and was paroled until 1970. He was again arrested for sexual assault, but the charges were later dropped. Gacy spent 14 years on death row, during which time he made paintings of clowns and other figures that sold for thousands of dollars. The paintings depicted his character Pogo with terrifying expressions. At least I find terrifying, because look at that, that's ugly. Instead of showing remorse for his awful killings, he expressed his sick actions within these paintings, which only brought more fame to his name. This all ties into pathos because it exposes his true self and tugs the emotions of the public by learning the sick acts of this terrible human being. To be tricked and lied to for years can heavily impact one's mental health, especially when there's someone you'd least expect them to be. Due to the popularity of this case, many professionals were involved in this study to piece together the factors that created such a monster. Dr. Donald Black, professor of psychiatry, explains how his childhood heavily affected his overall well-being. He explains the situation between Gacy and his father and links it to how Gacy may see the world differently from others. Input from another professional, Professor David Wilson, a criminologist who explains how serial killers are numb to the idea of death and how it doesn't affect them as harshly as a normal person would. Wilson talks about the variety of experiences that lead serial killers to come into close proximity with dead bodies. In Gacy's case, he acted as a janitor in a mortuary, giving him some sort of familiarization with dead bodies. Through the use of these professionals, it creates a sense of ethos because using these credible sources as sources of information creates trust between the readers and the sources. The public would more likely trust the words of professionals involved in the case rather than rumored/biased information floating around. On the day of May 10, 1994, at 12:58 a.m., he was killed by lethal injection. He previously owned several KFC chains in the past, so as his last meal, he wanted a fried chicken picnic surrounded by family. He chose to eat a bucket of chicken, a dozen fried shrimp, and a lot of strawberries, with a side drink of Diet Coke. In normal cases of lethal injections, there are 3 stages total. First, a doctor will inject a sedative so you simply fall asleep without being able to feel anything. Then you're injected with a chemical which paralyzes the muscle. Finally, potassium chloride is fed into your body through an IV drip, causing the heart to stop. In John's case, the solution crystallized inside the drip, forming solid clumps of chemical and clogging it, so nothing else could get in, making it a very painful death. It took 18 minutes until the process could continue, and it was blamed on the prison officials for setting the equipment up the wrong way.